So excited to have a very special guest here, Sarah Bond, who I've been trying to get on the show for. Sarah, it's been like 3 years, but welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited we were able to do this week.
It is amazing because you were on stage, of course, with the Xbox Bethesda Game Showcase earlier this week. What was that like? Because you're out there, and it was a pretty amazing event, wasn't it?
It was amazing. I just love doing those shows because it's sort of a love letter to our fans and a love letter to games. And frankly, it was an honor to get to stand up there and introduce the show and welcome everyone. It never gets old, I have to tell you. It's just such a thrill every time.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot, and you got to come out of Starfield, which is amazing, and see the team there.
Yeah. Yeah, and introduce Stalker 2, which is frankly, I still can't believe my eyes when I see that. The electricity, it's unbelievable.
It really is amazing. I want to talk a little bit about what you do, because a lot of folks are, you've got this amazing title. You're a CVP at Xbox, but really you are the head of Xbox Creator Experience. What does that mean for folks, for gamers?
It means so many things. Sometimes I have a hard time explaining it, frankly, Larry. We're always trying to figure out the right way to describe it. But my team works with all the game creators, developers, and publishers around the world that want to bring their games to Xbox. And that's everything from, the relationship we have with them, helping them get into Game Pass, but also the tech that they use to be able to come to our platform. And I just love it because it's all about the games, and our team is all about bringing the games to fans.
The other thing that your team does, I mean, what you do covers so much. It's games, and you and I have talked a lot about. It's all about games. But you're also your team is responsible for getting out and getting those Game Pass titles. People love Game Pass, so that's got to be a lot of fun too.
They do. It is a lot of fun. It's been a real journey. It's been 4 years now since we started. And when we first started, actually, there were a lot of developers out there that were a little bit skeptical of Game Pass, honestly. And it was just like working with them and having them try it out once, bring in a title, experience what it can actually do for your franchises. And then they would come back and they would see the lift and engagement and how many more players got to play their games. And then they bring more titles. And it's just sort of gotten better and better every year. And now I look at it and we just have the most incredible catalog in Game Pass. You kind of can't believe it, frankly, with some of the, I sort of pinch myself.
Well, and also to the point, at the game showcase, we announced 30 games that were during the entire show. 27 of those are on Game Pass. That's unheard of, isn't it?
Yeah, it is sort of unheard of. But the thing that's really cool about Game Pass is that it's awesome for players, obviously, because you can just try all these new games, but it's also great for creators, which is why we see such great Game Pass participation. So many people say that they've tried a game in Game Pass that they would have never otherwise tried. We see that people are playing more genres, they're playing more games. And so that's why we're able to bring 27 of 30 in, is that it's something that creators really want to be a part of.
When we were going through the showcase on Sunday, we saw game after game after game. We saw everything from indies to AAA blockbusters. Your team really works across left to right, across all the different developers and all the creators. You get to look not just 2 weeks up the pipeline, but you're way up the pipeline. You can see games that are coming out, frankly, that haven't even been announced yet. That's got to be very exciting for you.
Yeah. That's my favorite part. Well, I don't know. I say everything's my favorite part because I just like all of it. But it's just cool when, you get to go visit someone, they've been working on something, they show you their IP for the first time, and it could be 2 or 3 years out. Or, sometimes they'll come see us here. Actually, there's a TV behind me because I'm sitting in my conference room. The reason why that's there is because sometimes people come and they actually show us their game for the first time, and we sit here with the controllers and play it for a little bit. And there's something so vulnerable about that, honestly, like that you have an idea as a creator and you pour your heart and soul into it, and it takes years, 2 or 3 years to make these games and bring them to the world, and then they show it to us. It's so much trust.
I was thinking about this, and you and I had a chat earlier in the week. You've had an interesting journey to where you are as a CVP at Microsoft, at Xbox, and the head of game creators. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what gaming was like for you growing up.
Well, gaming was a big part of me growing up. And I look at it sort of with fresh eyes now. At the time, it was just part of what we did. My first game I ever played was King's Quest II with my dad. I was about 7 years old at the time. He had me read out the dialogue, I think, because he was trying to get me to get better at reading. I'd sit right there next to him. But then gaming became sort of part of our household tradition I get home on a Friday night. He would order a Hawaiian pizza and he put the controller in my hand because he said I was an expert jumper and he just liked to see how I would play and we would play together. So it's just always been part of what entertainment and relaxation and fun means to me. And then I started out my career, after I graduated from college. I did consulting. Then I worked at T-Mobile for a long time in wireless. And then this incredible opportunity came up to work in gaming. And at the time, Phil had said, we're really doing a lot with subscriptions. So maybe we should find someone who knows subscription. And we're going to do this amazing thing where we're going to make it possible for people to play their games on any device and on wireless devices. Maybe we should get someone who knows wireless. And it just all sort of clicked in my head. And I suddenly realized, I was like, of course I want to do gaming. Gaming's always been something I love and enjoy. And so to get to be part of bringing that to everyone in the world at Xbox was sort of a pinch myself type of dream job, frankly.
It's interesting. You said something very important there that I think a lot of people are going to pick up on is that we found out what side of the fence you fall on in the infamous, does pineapple belong on the top of pizza? And I think you answered that question.
It absolutely belongs on the top of pizza as long as it's with Canadian bacon. Yes.
When you look at what your team does and bringing games to Game Pass, it's really exciting because Phil's talked about, we're moving beyond just consoles and there's so much more to what Xbox is. How do you look at that? I mean, that's got to be an amazing thing to look out and see the future of with gaming from the cloud and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's 3 billion gamers on the planet. And I look at what we're doing and I think, gosh, we're just bringing something that is so powerful, has so much joy associated with it, is such an incredible source of community, and we're making it accessible to everyone. Because the games that we play on console, these incredibly immersive, high-fidelity games, they're amazing, right? There's just some of the best stories and experiences, and they create something that otherwise wouldn't exist. You can just actually walk in somebody else's shoes. You can tell a story with a level of vividness and fidelity that you couldn't anything else. You can learn how to do things and push your brain to get better and better at something over and over again in a game. And so I look out and I see what we're doing and I see us actually creating connection for the world, actually bringing people together. We went to, a couple of years ago, Phil and I went on this trip to Africa, and, there in Africa, very, very few people actually could afford a console, but they all know these games. They all were thrilled to see us there. They're all like, oh my gosh, we can't wait for this to be a reality here. And so that there's so many people in the world, billions of people in the world that know all of these brands, that want to have these experiences. And as we're rolling out what we're doing, it's going to be something that they're going to just pick up and start playing instantly.
I mean, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, you think about the 3 billion gamers and everybody who doesn't have access to games. And, certainly maybe they can't even afford a console or anything like that. But that's one of the great things we have with Game Pass, and in order you get access to all these games. And then things we're doing with xCloud, where you don't even have to own a console. You can do it from, your mobile device. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Now, see, this is why Phil brought you here.
Well, I don't know. It's a team effort. I talk about this a lot, but it's just an amazing team. Like Team Xbox is an amazing team, and everybody has like these unique perspectives and a part to play, and we've created it together. And it's probably the first time in my life that I've truly, truly felt part of a team.
Well, I have to tell you, as somebody who's been on the Xbox team, as you know, for 17 years, we as gamers and as a member of Team Xbox, we are so thrilled to have you in our corner and getting great games for us on Game Pass and just doing all the great work that you and your team is doing. So I'm so excited we finally got you on the show, and I appreciate you coming by. And I want to thank you again on behalf of gamers for just giving us such a stack of games to play. And I can't wait to see what you and your team are going to be doing, in the near and beyond future. So thank you, Sarah. It's great to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you. There will be more games. so, so I can't wait for you guys to see what's going to come up next. It'll be awesome.
Big week for Halo fans. Halo Infinite had some great news, and joining me is the man, the myth, the Halo legend, Mr. Joseph Staten. Joe, good to see you.
Larry, it is great to see you as well in this strange world where we only see each other on cameras.
I know. I miss seeing you in the office. I mean, you and I have worked together for a long time. I was thinking about it. I mean, I first met you when you were working on Halo. I mean, you've worked on all the Halos, but when Halo 2, because I joined the team right before Halo 2 launched. Right. So that's when I met you.
That's right. Wow, the Halo 2 launch. That was a good one.
They've all been amazing, but it's great to see you. What a great week you guys had. It is, you had a great moment on stage on Sunday. Tell us a little bit about what you announced and how you're feeling right now.
Yeah, so Bonnie, Ross, and I were both on stage talking about two things, really. One, we wanted to give everybody an update on the campaign.
There you are.
So, yeah, there I am. Yeah, it's funny. I don't look any taller on camera. I wonder why that is. That's so strange. But we wanted to give people an update on campaign from last year. But the main thing we wanted to talk about was our multiplayer part of Halo. I mean, as you know, as I said on stage, you cannot have a Halo game without multiplayer. And we haven't talked about Infinite's multiplayer yet. We certainly haven't shown any gameplay footage of it. So that was the main thing that we wanted to do this past weekend.
And it looks like, I mean, we talked a little bit about that on Sunday, but then Monday morning, you guys put out a Vidoc, which just was mind-blowing with some of the things you saw in there, in addition to Tom French's beard, but that's a whole other conversation.
Well, that's mind-blowing on its own. We could have had a whole Vidoc just about Tom's beard. It would have been amazing.
But it really was. It went into a lot of detail and people that this Halo community has been craving for a long time. Yeah. As somebody who's worked on all the Halo games, it's got to be great to see the excitement there for Halo, for Halo Infinite, because it's going to be exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we're at this exciting stage of the project where we're so close to being done. And by done, I mean taking the game out of our hands and putting it into players' hands, that we're able to show real gameplay from matches. And so it's very easy for us to talk about it now that we can be completely transparent about what we're working on. Vidocs also, I just think, are a really fun way to connect with fans and just have a more intimate conversation about this is what we care about as designers or artists. This is what we hope you really enjoy as players. So it was really fun. I know for the whole team to let that out there and see people's reactions to it. It's been a really positive, uplifting experience for everybody on our side.
Some of the areas that you talked about that I want to talk to you about is cross-play and cross-progression. Let's talk about your POV on that, because it's really interesting.
Larry, what's great is when different kinds of people can play games together.
That's right.
It is. It's really, really good. And so for us, what's so exciting is that whether you're on a console, whether you're on a PC, there's no barrier in terms of multiplayer gameplay. Right. You can play with each other, and your progression, as you said, like crosses platforms. Frankly, that's the way it should always be, and we're just happy that Infinite Multiplayer is doing that. I think it's been great. I certainly find myself at home where I'm jumping back and forth between devices, depending on who's using a device in the home, or just generally how I feel like playing that day, whether I'm in more of a mouse and keyboard mood or a controller mood, whether I want to be on the TV, on the couch, or just, in a quieter place. And it's just it's a convenience, I think. But more importantly, I have friends who have different platform preferences. So I have PC playing friends and console playing friends. And in Infinite, there is no barrier to play together, which is great.
I also want to point out that, it's the PC version is going to be there day one, right?
That's right. Yeah. All platforms are going to hit on day one.
And also, I know we've talked about this on this show many times, but Game Pass, Day one Game Pass. Of course, it's on day one Game Pass.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that little thing called Game Pass.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep. It's there, Game Pass day one. So if that's the way you want to engage and play the game, that's absolutely. Yep.
with multiplayer, your team made an interesting decision this time around where it's free to play. What does that
Correct.
mean? Yeah, what does that mean for folks? Because I mean, we've seen a lot of free to play games, and certainly most people, when you hear free to play, you think like, oh, there's going to be ads popping up all the time, but that's obviously not the case. It's not a mobile game. But tell us about what free to play is and why you made that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people who might be watching that didn't hear the news over the weekend and some of the clarifications we offered. So the campaign is not free to play. You can either purchase the campaign or, of course, you can play it through Game Pass.
Yep.
The multiplayer side of the game is the free to play component.
Yep.
For us, free to play is all about helping us earn the biggest audience possible.
Yep.
Just lowering the barriers for entry, letting anybody jump in who wants to and experience Halo. Of course, we want to create a great experience for our longtime grizzled Halo veterans, but it would also be wonderful to bring in new players to the game as well. And so that's really what free to play gets us, is hopefully the biggest audience we've ever had for a Halo game. In the Vidoc, and if you haven't had a chance to watch it, I highly recommend it. It goes into a lot more detail than we have time for today, probably. But the short story on free to play for us from a design point of view is we're taking a player first perspective on our design choices and our monetization choices, to be frank. So we do have a battle pass system, but the battle pass in Halo Infinite never expires.
So it's Battle Pass Infinite.
It's Larry, you need to trademark these things. It's Battle Pass. I don't know called Battle Pass Infinite. I might get in trouble if I use that word, but that's the spirit of what we're doing. If you buy a Battle Pass, it never expires. If you want to play a Battle Pass from a previous season, you're welcome to flip the Battle Pass that's active and earn toward that particular Battle Pass. If you're in a season and you want to purchase a Battle Pass from previous season, that's possible too. So that's because we know people are busy, right? We know people don't have time to work through an entire Battle Pass sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't want to put that pressure on players to always feel like they need to grind it out or they miss out on the opportunities to earn things that they really care about. We want to let people see something on a Battle Pass that they really want and then give them the time to go after it and ultimately to earn it. So that's just one example of our approach to free to play, which is really a player first approach to it, which I think is great.
And I know you mentioned, I've read that you guys are going to have a technical preview this summer, obviously for multiplayer, right? So let's tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. So we've been flighting the game, which means just sending the game out to larger and larger rings of players for a number of months now. Those flights have been relatively small as we stand up the multiplayer experience, but over the summer leading up to launch, those flight rings, they're going to get larger and larger. So you can sign up for those flights, have a chance to get into those flights, and the numbers keep increasing, like I said, from flight to flight. If you go to Halo Waypoint, you'll find instructions on how to get on the insider list and be ready to be called into action for these flights. So
tapped on the shoulder.
That's right. And like I said earlier, Larry, I mean, this is the exciting time of the project where now we take it out of our hands and we largely put it into other players' hands. And the good thing about, I think sometimes people say, well, why aren't you, like doing a beta? These technical flights are mission critical for us. These preview flights are mission critical for us because we are actively reacting to what we see there. I think sometimes people think, oh, am I going to play this? And is it going to matter? Like, are they going to take my feedback and is it going to positively impact the game? The answer in this case is 100%. Like we're diligently looking at what's happening, from everything from weapon balance to the way the modes work to, of course, all the technical stuff under the hood, matchmaking, to make sure that we have a really stable, rock solid, fun experience at launch. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you say that, it reminds me, and we started off this interview how you and I have worked together for a long time, and became
we're old now.
But I remember the days for Halo 2 and for Halo 3 and beyond, where we would send out internal emails. Hey, we're having a take home this weekend. We'd have to come pick up a disc, right?
That's right.
and we'd come pick up the disc and we would play, and you would have weapon balances. And I remember there was one, I don't remember what it was. This was never seen in public, but it was a test map where you had all the weapons lined up and you could just go pick up the weapons. Yeah. Remember that? And you can go in the world environment. And that was a lot of fun. But it reminds me a lot of that, where we would, but now with this amazing where everyone's connected and you can just, do insider rings, it just allows you a much broader, to your point, broader press coverage or excuse me, broader test coverage, right?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And the cool thing is, Larry, back in the day, that firing range or test range that we had for Halo 2 and other games, that experience was super useful. Like if you wanted to warm up with weapons to just get ready for multiplayer action, you had a place to go and do that. And when I joined the Infinite team back in the fall, I was so excited to learn that they actually had made that an experience that's available to all players. And we showed some glimpses of this in the Vidoc that we released. And it's called the Academy. And the Academy is this place where you can go to learn the basics of playing Halo multiplayer. We have weapon drills where you can pick up weapons on a firing range. Just make sure you're good to go and dialed in before you jump into multiplayer. I think now that we're in this world of trying to get an even bigger audience and trying to attract, as I said, old grizzled Halo fans and people who've never experienced Halo Arena and Big Team Battle before, this Academy experience is super important for us, just to provide a place where players can jump in and get ready to go. And a big important component of that is, for the first time ever, bot support. So, yeah, and the bots, I have to say, with their multiple difficulty levels, like the bots can be quite challenging. So,
they're legit.
they're legit, and so it's this really fun experience that, as you said, has always been valuable for Halo players. And I'm just really happy that now it's not just a sort of a debug tool set, but it's an actual experience built into the multiplayer experience, the Academy, where you can go train against bots, play around with weapons, and just get good to go before you jump into multiplayer.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than when you were in a multiplayer game and you finally got that power weapon and then you lost it. You didn't even fire a shot and you lost it. Now you can go in and kind of experiment and say, oh, this is the zoom, press it and hold it down to do something or what have you, and just learn all the weapon intricacies.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
One of the other, by the way, I don't know if a lot of people know this, and this wasn't on the list of things we're going to talk about, so I'm going to kind of
Larry, I told you not to talk about that time in the desert with the scorpions. What are you gonna do?
No, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I pretty sure I know it's in Halo 2 and Halo 1, but I don't know beyond that. But you did the voices for the early grunts.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But Larry, I'm sworn to secrecy about whether or not I will have a return as a grunt in Infinite. That would be fun, though, wouldn't it?
That would be a lot of fun. But I just do remember somebody would tell me.
Jaded grunt that's like, yeah, I've been there, seen that. Bring it on, Spartan. What do you got?
I love that. It's this is really, we talked a lot about the multiplayer and the campaign. Tell us a little bit about the campaign, because I know I need to let you go, but tell us a little bit about the campaign before I let you go.
Sure. Well, as I said, over the weekend, this is the largest, most wide open campaign we've ever built. And I just remember, as I said, when I joined the team back in the fall, getting a chance to play the game for the first time and honestly being genuinely shocked and delighted by how expansive this world was. And I've said this, I don't know if I ever said this publicly, but for me, it really was, as I was playing it, this realization of a dream that we had 20 years ago when we made the first Halo game, of being able to explore this beautiful, mysterious alien world and have a feeling of being grounded in the world, and that it was big enough that it could be filled with any possibility. Like there weren't ridge lines that stopped you. Like the idea of, I can go over that ridge because I can see a alien spire poking out over the top of it.
Yeah, let me go check that out.
Explore that. Yeah. And of course, there are boundaries to our world, as there are in any video game world. But for a Halo game, it feels so much more expansive, so much more filled with the possibility of adventure and mystery. It just was a super impactful feeling that I had that first day that I played. And I have to say, every time I go back and play a build, I still have that magical feeling. And I'm just really eager for players to jump in and begin to explore this world. It's a lot of fun. And I've also described it as just, you have the Halo sandbox, this tight 30 seconds of fun where you as the player are the most powerful actor in this rich, emergent physical simulation. You poke something, it reacts. imagine that, but just expanded. So if you have an encounter in this new Halo game, it's no longer just a few axes of attack on that encounter. It's now sort of 360 degrees of choices for players about how they want to take down this banished installation, etc. I mean, I could talk for hours about the campaign, and I'm sure we'll do it at some point, Larry. But it does have this wonderful, expansive feel to it, but it still retains that tight Halo sandbox, that tight set of really interesting choices for players, which has always been a hallmark of the game. So I think the team has just done a really wonderful job of achieving a lot of those dreams that we had so long ago. It's just really incredible to see them now real and in software to play.
And then, of course, you talked about the weapons and whatnot, but of course, another part of the Halo universe is the vehicles. And there's such a rich tapestry of vehicles to play with. I love the vehicle, the vehicle usage in the game, but also, of course, the vehicle combat. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Before I let you go, I mean, I'll have you on again. Maybe it was get closer to launch, but launch is, most, back in the old days, we talked about, okay, launch is, we're all done. People, it's gold. We go on vacation, but really launch is just
we all line up at Babbage's and get our DVDs.
That's right. But launch for most people now, and including your team, it's launch is really just the starting line, right?
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's the start of a conversation with our community, as it's always been. But as we talked about at the showcase event, it's the start of our service for Halo. When I say service, I just mean a commitment by us to our players that we're going to deliver a steady stream of content, new experiences, fun gameplay, new ways to customize your player character, season to season and year after year. And I know Halo games have done this previously. We've had DLC and other post-launch content, but that's different than a more regular conversation, a more regular series of heartbeats with our community. So, it's just super exciting to see the stuff that's behind the curtain still that we haven't talked about, and the plans that we have moving past launch. And I can't really talk about that, but I can only say that I'm really excited to continue that conversation, continue to offer fun ways for people to play the game and get rewarded for playing well after launch. It's going to be, one might even call it a great journey, Larry. I think we could accurately call it that.
You know what, Joe? I
except without that weird thing that happened that the Covenant believed in that isn't the good part of the great journey. But this great journey is really going to be, let's call it the best journey.
The best journey.
That's right.
All right. Listen, Joe Staten, you are the head of Xbox Creative for Halo Infinite. It's great to see you've been with Halo longer than most people I know. I mean, you are for many people, you are Halo, right? Just like many people say, I'm Xbox. For many people, you are Halo. So I want to thank you for the many games and the many hours of.
It's very kind.
Hundreds of thousands of hours of fun we've had. And I'm looking forward to Halo Infinite. We'll get you on closer to launch. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.